Welcome to this AHDB AgriLeader live stream, where this evening we're going to find out what is AgriLeader, who attends and what do they gain from it. My name's Tom Martin and I'd like to welcome you to Village Farm on this cold and windy and wet evening here in Cambridgeshire near Peterborough. But we're going to warm things up by meeting some great farmers and hearing about their AgriLeader journey. And talking of great farmers, I'd like to introduce my co-host, James Herrick. James.
Thanks for the flattery, Tom. My name is James Herrick. I'm a beef farmer from Leicestershire, and we're really lucky tonight to be joined by Isaac over in Social Corner.
Good evening, everyone, and yes, from me, a very warm welcome from a very cold St Grain shed. Welcome to this AHDB AgriLeader Circle. And like St Tom mentioned, tonight we'll delve a bit into the depths of how 4 farmers have benefited from this programme. Of course, first of all, thank you very much to Farmer Tom, aka Tom Martin, for hosting us and having us here and interviewing those farmers. If you're watching from home, wherever you're watching from, whichever channel you're watching on, put your comments, put your questions in there. That'll get fed to me and we'll put it to the panel towards the end of the evening. So I've got here with me our CEO, Graham Wilkinson. Graham, please introduce yourself and tell us, what do you think about the AgriLeader, what have you heard, and why leadership is important?
Yeah, so it's absolutely fantastic to be here on farm. I love getting out and about, and I know that the weather is not great, but it's just fantastic to be here. And I'm really looking forward to the session and hearing from some fantastic farmers. So I'm the CEO at AHDB. I started on the 1st of March of this year, so I'm not the new guy anymore, but it's been a fantastic eye-opener in really understanding AHDB as an organisation. My background, I've come from a family dairy farm many years ago, but I've worked for Arla Foods in the dairy industry, also did some time when I worked at Tesco as well. So I've got some sort of skills throughout the whole of the supply chain. I think what that has also given me is that, I suppose, that appreciation of what good leadership, really understanding how the benefit that can have in sort of leading teams, leading people and leading businesses through change, through challenges as well. And I think the benefits I see from the AgriLeader programme, I think regardless of any business, and business owners and farmers are no different in just being able to take that time off farm. I'm a firm believer that the answer is always in the room. So farmers learning from farmers and being able to create that environment where like-minded farmers can learn from each other, challenge each other. And to me, that is what the AgriLeader programme is all about.
Excellent, yes, definitely that bit about and challenging, motivating, that is what AgriLeader is all about. We're here to hear from the farmers, so Tom, back in the studio, back to you. So let's hear from our first farmer.
Well, thank you, Isaac and Grant. And farmers, learning from farmers is what we're all about. And the real star of the show this evening, it's not you and me, James, it's our lineup of farmers. And let's start with our first farmer. Ben Harmon is a Charolais breeder and arable farmer from Buckinghamshire. But before we talk to Ben, let's watch the video of what he's been up to this year.
One of the great things about AgriLeader is the folks that you end up listening to, and that's the bit that I think I would have taken out of AgriLeader more than anything, is the personal growth. What it gave me is confidence. So confidence in yourself, confidence in the decisions you make. By talking to other farmers there, and whether they're from your sector or different sectors, you get this new perspective on decision making and on growing your business.
He's come back with a more different approach on how we can improve it here, and it's encouraged me as well on how I can improve my role in what I'm doing here to help benefit his business and benefit my personal growth. And the more that he was pushing me in the deep end, the more confident I got.
He's met some very interesting people. I'm sure that it's opened his mind. I am absolutely proud of him, proud of what he's done, proud of what he's doing, proud of his sense of what's right and wrong, because he wants to help other people. And I was too busy helping myself, far too selfish.
Well, what a great video that was, and a special welcome to you, Ben. Now, why don't you start off by just introducing yourself and telling us a little bit more about yourself? I understand there's a particularly unique crossbreed that you've founded.
Yeah, we did. So, right, I'm Ben Harmon, and I farm about 930 acres on top of the Chilterns. It's not great land. It's on the urban fringe, and I've been farming that. I'm the fourth generation farmer on there. And we have arable, and we have the oldest herd of Charolais in the UK, because my grandfather was the first guy to import them. And we have some Salers, and then I cross my Charolais with a Wagyu, and I call that a Shagyu, and I sell meat from my Shagyu brand. Oh, and I do a few other jobs away from the farm as well, board member of various things, just trying to help out where I can.
Brilliant, Ben. So there's a great legacy there from your grandfather being the first person to import Charolais. So moving on to AgriLeader, what impact has meeting new people helped you through the AgriLeader programme to improve your personal and business growth?
Yeah, AgriLeader is brilliant for this because of the type of person who turns up. So the folks who are turning up to AgriLeader are folks who are already wanting to learn, who are already coming with open ears, and already, because of that, they're the guys that are driving their businesses at home. So you don't meet dull people. You don't meet people who haven't got a lot to say. What you do meet is folks who are driving their businesses, who are growing their businesses, which may be in a different sector from yours, and you can bounce off each other and you can learn from each other. It's all about people, is AgriLeader.
Brilliant, Ben. So that's an AgriLeader guarantee. You won't meet dull people.
No, that's very true, and we've all been to AgriLeader, so that's obviously obviously the case. Ben, can you just talk to us about stepping outside of your comfort zone? Because obviously before AgriLeader, you hadn't done anything like that. It's very new to you. So can you advise on how other farmers would go about it?
I guess it depends on your comfort zone, doesn't it? Because everyone's got a different one. But I know there's a fair few folks who find it very difficult to get off the farm, even if it is for a really positive learning experience, and that is their comfort zone. And maybe they're not confident in a room full of people they don't know. None of those things are a problem. It's difficult sometimes to leave the farm, but every time you leave the farm and surround yourselves with people like that, in an environment like that, then your business is going to benefit, and you personally will benefit. So don't be bashful, be bold, and get off your dung heap.
And Ben, I felt quite emotional watching that video, looking at your family members and what you've achieved, the legacy that you've continued and built on. So it's been an emotional journey as well as a strategic one?
Yeah, I feel quite emotional watching that as well. It's lovely to see Dad there. And what you don't see there is Mum there as well, and my son who'd been helping out for some of the time at home. So but there's a long history on that farm. We've been there 120 odd years, and when I walk around the fields, and I know that my grandfather was walking around those fields and he was sticking fence posts in, and Dad was doing the same, and I'm doing the same, and the fact that they're all kind of there on your shoulder, for an emotional person, and I am one of those, it's emotional seeing Dad on the video for sure.
So Ben, you talk about, obviously the farm's been in your family for generations, your grandfather, your father, yourself, your son, and we saw Daisy on the VT as well. So how has AgriLeader give you the skills to sort of inspire the next generation? Because it's obviously something that runs in the family. Yeah,
so I was not someone who ever really wanted to employ people, because I'm quite sort of self-reliant, and I'm very, very particular about how my cattle get talked to and scratched and treated, and so I didn't think I ever would employ anyone. So Daisy came along as a bit of a happy accident, and it actually at a really good time, as it turned out for me, because I was finding myself busier with things off the farm. It was also a happy accident for the timing, because I'd been to a couple of AgriLeaders and we'd spoken there about how to manage people and how to communicate with people, and it's quite easy to go out as a farmer and find ways to be a better cattle breeder or to be a better grower of crops. Finding out how to be a better communicator and a better businessman as a farmer is maybe a little bit trickier to come by, and AgriLeader really has helped with the communication issues and knowing how to communicate and finding different ways to communicate with different folks.
Yeah, I think communication has always been something that I've enjoyed learning about at AgriLeader, because I know as farmers we often spend a lot of time sort of on our own, don't we? And we don't tend to be very good communicators often. But if you are looking for some toolkit on communication, there is a developing people page on the AHDB website, so you can head over to there and find some resources to help you out. But talking about other people, we're going to head over now to Social Corner and see what's happening with Isaac and Graham.
Excellent, and thank you for that plug James. Brilliant. We have got some great resources, the labour life cycle, talking leaders, all of those things. If you head over to the AHDB YouTube, this is live there. We've got a load of links in there, so go and have a look at there. Some interesting points Ben raised there, Graham. What do you think of that?
I think just a fantastic story, just to listen to Ben. I think the thing that really stood out for me has been the fact that Ben really pushed himself out of his comfort zone. And I think the benefit of being surrounded by people that were going to challenge him and challenge his thinking as well. I think that's quite brave, actually. I think it's really brave of Ben, and obviously with the support of Daisy back at home now as well. I think it's a really inspiring story that actually, a previous leader once told me, if it's not broke, then break it. And it's a little bit of that with listening to Ben as well. He's willing to look at things with a new pair of eyes, and I think the AgriLeader programs help give him that bit of confidence to do that.
Very much. I love that line of, get off your own dung heap. And I think I've coined this phrase, but I refer to your comfort zone as your dream cemetery, where your dreams go to die. So, and really love the fact that Ben is pushing himself out of there.
Yeah.
We've got some questions coming in. Keep putting them in there, and they'll be sent back to me. One for later, Ben. What were your thoughts and challenges that you faced before you went to AgriLeader, and how have things improved since? So we'll ask that question to Ben later. Tom, back to you in the studio.
Fantastic. Thanks, Isaac. And we're going to stay in Buckinghamshire to meet our next farmer. Do you know, James, I've just done a little bit of Googling, and the motto of Buckinghamshire is Vestigia Nulla Restrorsum, which you'll know means no stepping back. And that really describes our next farmer. He's Anthony Pearce. He's from Buckinghamshire, and he's an arable farmer. Let's watch a little bit of a video about his journey so far.
For me, the AgriLeader programme is about supporting the leadership of agriculture. Building on the AgriLeader experiences helped us improve our business structure and direction and planning, and helped with staff management. One of the takeaway points that I'd written down was my concerns about staff retention. I don't feel that is a concern at the moment. So that's a real benefit, because any business is only as strong as the people within it.
And we just have a general chat about life in general, which I think is really important, and potentially challenges people are having within their work that hopefully we can help them solve.
I think it's just very good to have the collaborative environment just to talk. It just keeps everyone happy. When everyone's happy, boosts the productivity.
Fundamentally, your team takes their energy from the leader. And if the leader's there without a vision, then they're going to pick up on it and they're going to return it back to you. So if you're weak and rudderless, why would your staff feel any different?
Well, that's another fantastic and inspiring story. Anthony, a special welcome to you. And we really appreciate you getting the time to step away from your multiple, quite complex businesses. So, first question, how has taking time away from the farm to think and strategise changed how you manage things back home in your business?
Well, I think any person benefits from just taking a step back. And at that time of year in January, I'm generally making New Year's resolutions, and so taking the time away from my business then, when it is a little bit quieter, helps give me perspective and set up plans for the forthcoming year.
And do you have a personal rhythm? Is it, the AgriLeader is an event that we run, or AHDB runs in January. How do you manage that throughout the rest of the year? Because, you have your AgriLeader holiday, you get a couple of great days there to be organised and inspired. How do you do that throughout the rest of the year as well?
Yeah, I think it is challenging to maintain that sort of momentum. We've heard earlier about the excitement generated by AgriLeader, and then how do you take that home? And I think there's an interesting workbook we get where you note down sort of where you were before the conference and where you want to be in the future. And I think it really helps just to check up on that booklet every so often, helps maintain that momentum, helps you, stay focused on your objectives and how you're going to get there.
So you talked about staff challenges, staff retention being a real consideration of yours. How has AgriLeader sort of helped you with staff well-being and allowed you to upskill yourself?
Well, I think Dr. Stephanie's presentation really cut home to me. I can remember that bit where I'm rocking back on my chair was probably me thinking, oh, what do I need to know about COVID? I can definitely remember thinking that. But actually, as her talk progressed, I was able to recognise issues that one of my staff members was experiencing, and I made a note straight away that I was going to tackle her about it, and the fact that when she went away on holiday, she came back and she didn't seem to be refreshed and invigorated. If anything, she was still struggling. So we had a conversation, some of those ideas that were, that were introduced to me that I had no idea of before AgriLeader. She introduced me to those concepts, brought them home to the business, and I think it helped diffuse a problem. And as I said, staff retention improved dramatically as a result of that.
So that's fascinating. You've clearly got some personal examples to give us of areas that perhaps Dr. Stephanie inspired you or AgriLeader did as well. So how's your personal journey been?
So I think it's fair to say that I read a lot around the subject. I'm pretty open-minded, but for me, it's taking those skills back, and as far as bringing them to my team, one of the things that we instituted as a result of AgriLeader was sitting down with a team every fortnight, all the different sections of my businesses coming together in one place, and we have sort of a cross-fertilisation where people can offer to help each other out. And it also gives each member of staff a perspective on the challenges in other businesses and how they might be able to help each other out.
I think that's a great microcosm of AgriLeader in general. You've got multiple different businesses and you're bringing people together to cross-pollinate, cross-fertilise, to learn from each other, even if they're not in exactly the same kind of business. So that's exactly what we see at AgriLeader, of course, James.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and obviously, you're a very busy guy, Anthony. So how has AgriLeader sort of helped you in bringing all of your multiple businesses together and sort of, control everything, considering your time is so spread?
I think, obviously, we talk about KPIs and vision. I think vision's really important. Marcus touched on how to identify vision within your business. We developed and rolled out a principle called Ikigai to our staff. And so everybody, even though they might be in different businesses, they have a perception now of how each of the businesses fit together within the group of sort of larger holistic goals. And I think that helps everybody pull in the same direction.
So you can't throw out a word like Ikigai without telling us what on earth that means. Did you miss that?
That one's over my head, I'm afraid.
So it's either Ikigai or the hedgehog principle if you're from great businesses and how to develop them or something like that. But the principle is that you have a Venn diagram that intersects with what is economic for your business, what are your driving passions, and what are you world-class at.
Gosh, it's absolutely fascinating, Anthony. I mean, you've clearly brought a lot together, and you're a gregarious person, so meeting other people as part of AgriLeader must be something that you really relish. How would you kind of encourage other people to take part and get the most from the AgriLeader programme?
I think there was a very interesting presentation made a couple of years ago, I think, about networking and looking for groups where it's two people or an open circle so that you can go in and join them. And that's something that I try and do now if I'm having a conversation with someone else, try and open my body language up to welcome somebody else into the circle. You never know what opportunities might be there for you.
Yeah, and you talked about obviously having a shared vision there as well and bringing people together within your businesses. So is that something that you bring across business so that everyone from different parts can work together in sort of more of a cohesive environment?
Yeah, definitely. I'm a big believer in collaboration. I've run 2 arable joint ventures. I think it's absolutely inherent to the survival of the industry that we look to be more collaborative. It's not for anybody to come up with a solution, but it's for everybody to find a solution that works for them in their unique situation.
Gosh, it feels like you've really sucked the marrow out of the AgriLeader programme, but you're no doubt committed to coming again and being part of it in future. So what would the next step be for you? What kind of questions would you be asking? What answer would you be looking for as you attend future events?
Well, I think that is in essence, what I look for from AgriLeader is not to go there with a question in my mind, but to go with an open mind and to be challenged by the event so that I take something new away. If I could have come up with the question myself, that's, I'm already there on the journey. What I want AgriLeader to do is to challenge me with something left field that I haven't thought about, like Dr. Stephanie's presentation, something that I wouldn't have thought about. What can I take forward from the event?
So thank you, Anthony. And on the subject of new questions, I think we should head over to the social corner and see what Isaac and Graham are getting up to.
Thank you, James. And just a shout out to Tom's dog there. That is absolutely brilliant and lying there. Graham, Anthony talks there about strategy. You said, coming in as the new CEO at AHDB, you setting the new strategy there. Pardon me. You're actually using Marcus Charles, who we used at the AgriLeader Forum in January this year, and Doreen is using up in Scotland for another AgriLeader event. So tell us a bit about some of your thoughts about strategy and how you get a business and to drive and take up strategy and get that throughout the business.
So I think one thing I've talked about quite a lot with the team is very much around, it's a very simple model, but it's the DAC model, and my team are probably sick of hearing me talk about it, but direction, alignment and commitment. And I think it's so important ultimately, and Marcus talks about where is the destination, where are we looking to get to. So being clear on that direction, being clear on that destination, and then ultimately making sure that everybody is aligned to that. And then finally that you've got the commitment to that as well. So it's so important. And so strategy for me, I like North Stars. I like to know where I'm going. I like to know where I'm heading, clear on setting what the success criteria is for the teams and those KPIs. Then everybody knows what we're doing, what we're here to do. And also what it allows people to do is ultimately celebrate success when we achieve our objectives as well. So really important, regardless of size or scale of business. And I think it helps engage people within farming businesses and businesses in general to really get behind that direction.
So direction, alignment,
commitment.
Excellent. I know you're a great believer in that, and Anthony mentioned it. Growing peoples, and you touched about it there in the end. So how do you grow people? How do you make people stay in a business and really, so that commitment that you talk about?
So I think for me, our people are our biggest asset, and so people are really important. So I enjoy working with teams. I enjoy people succeeding. I talk about surrounding myself with people that are ultimately better than me, and Anthony talked about that as well earlier. So I think it's really, really important, empowering people, making people feel valued, making people believe that they can actually achieve more than they maybe thought they could. So I think there's lots of things that we can do, and I suppose one of the lessons that I've learned in managing teams is that it's so important in taking the different strengths from different people and pulling them together and not spending too much time focusing on your own weaknesses, but making sure that you're filling those gaps with people that have those strengths as well. And that amalgamation, that team, those different strengths ultimately is what will achieve the success.
That's a great point here. So building on each strengths of each person in the team. A question we get asked a lot is, I'm not really a leader, I'm not an AgriLeader, is this really for me? So if you're sitting at home watching this and you think, is this for me? Am I an AgriLeader? Have a look at this.
I'm Victoria Walmsley.
I'm Anthony Pearce.
I'm Ben Harmon.
I'm George Tate.
And I am an AgriLeader.
So often we get asked, what is an AgriLeader?
I am an AgriLeader.
I'm an AgriLeader.
I'm an AgriLeader.
My name is Hayden Heath and I am an AgriLeader.
My name is Ikechi and I am an AgriLeader. My name's Andrew Smith and I'm an AgriLeader.
My name is John and I'm an AgriLeader.
My name is Jo Franklin and I'm an AgriLeader.
An AgriLeader is someone like you. Whether you're managing your farm business, leading a team or guiding your own personal growth, you embody the spirit of AgriLeader. If you're watching this video, you are an AgriLeader.
My name is Skandar and I'm an AgriLeader.
My name is James Smith and I'm an AgriLeader.
My name is Kelly and I'm an AgriLeader.
My name is Richard Orr and I'm an AgriLeader.
My name is Akeem and I'm an AgriLeader.
My name is Mary Quick and I am an AgriLeader.
If you've made it this far and you are here now, you're already an AgriLeader. So why not join us at next year's AgriLeader Forum? It's an opportunity you won't want to miss.
Well, that was fantastic, and I would suggest that if you're watching this evening, then you probably are an AgriLeader. But there is a QR code coming up on the screen right now where you can find out a little bit more information and test that hypothesis. Are you an AgriLeader? Have you got what it takes? I would suggest the answer is yes. So thank you for that, Isaac. Thank you for the shout-out to the dog. I don't think he's ever had a shout-out before, but and he doesn't look particularly impressed, but thank you very much indeed. And now we move on to another big dog. It's George Tate. He is a pig farmer from Herefordshire in Scotland, but you know the drill. We'll watch the video first before we chat to George.
The AgriLeader Forum has been the starting block to get me to sit down and start putting pen to paper as to where we're going and how we want to do it and which parts of the business we want to expand and grow. I've sat down with Vicky, my wife, and we've sort of tried to putting a strategy together.
The first thing he did when he came back from the course, he was really excited about, like, I think we need to get our strategy on a page sorted. It just makes you sit back and think about the bigger picture and where he could take certain bits, and how he can inspire his team and work more as a manager.
Before AgriLeader, I wasn't as good at communicating what I was doing to the rest of the team, but I think now I'm better at telling them where I am, what I'm doing, and why. In my opinion, the AgriLeader programme is very worthwhile. I thoroughly enjoyed it. There was great opportunities for networking, business management ideas, seeing the industry from a different perspective as well.
George just quite likes a challenge, and actually he thrives on that. And he wants to bring everyone on board and everyone that works for him to have that passion as well. I think George definitely sees the value in events like that.
Fantastic. Well, George Tate, you're very welcome, and it's great to hear your wife there saying that you love a challenge. But before we get into the meaty questions, I've got to ask, you're a pig farmer from Herefordshire in Scotland.
Hertfordshire.
Now, Hertfordshire in Scotland.
Yeah.
Now, that's quite a challenge. Tell me about how that came about.
It's a long story which probably isn't that interesting, but it's sort of over time the business has grown and opportunities have arisen through networking and trying to collaborate with other people that sort of arose as those two enterprises.
Amazing. You must be the only pig farmer from those two particular areas that spans those two counties.
Pretty niche, yeah.
It is one hell of a daily commute. That is really, does some impressive stuff. So, George, you actually spoke there about getting your strategy on a page. Actually, I think it was your wife that mentioned it. So can you talk about how AgriLeader sort of helped you do that, and what was the kickstart in wanting to get that on the page?
One of the speakers was Marcus, who was pretty inspirational, really. I mean, it wasn't groundbreaking stuff, but it was just the way he talked about it, and it sort of clicked with me. And he came up with this great story of if you draw a picture and you put it up there, you will generally work towards that and achieve it. And that sort of strategy and that picture is what you want to draw out and go for. And that's our sort of strategy on a page idea.
That was an amazing session, wasn't it, with Marcus, who was a highlight amongst many highlights. And Exhibit A is on my phone home screen, is my picture of what I'm aiming for. So that's fantastic. But going back to your kind of twin-site pig operation, you're clearly spending a lot of time not at either of those sites. So delegation, people management and developing people must be a really key core part of what you do.
It's an important part. I'm not sure I'm great at it, but I try, and it's something I will continuously try to improve on. But it's putting trust in other people to run with ideas and giving them the opportunity to do that, and kind of trying not to get involved. It's very easy to just do it yourself. But there's no way you can grow a business if you're doing it all yourself. You need more of you, or you need to, find people that are on the same path as you to do the work. So, that's how businesses grow and develop and build momentum.
Yeah, and I know that delegation is definitely something that I've always struggled with. I'm just like, I'll just take the brush and I'll do it myself. So I can feel your pain there. But obviously, we spoke earlier before we actually went live about previous roles that you've had, and so with those previous roles, what is the sort of experience that you've gained in order to bring into agriculture, and sort of and within the industries, cross industry?
Yeah, so prior to coming back to farming, I was a chartered surveyor working for a sort of property firm in London. And one of the things about being a surveyor, and most professionals, you have to do a specific amount of time of CPD, continuous professional development, every year. And, looking at farming, there's no obligation on us to do that. And by doing the AgriLeader, it's a sort of step to do that, of taking yourself and doing a bit of professional and personal development. And I think that's why the AgriLeader course is such a good opportunity to do that, because as an industry we need to be kind of doing, I don't know, I keep saying doing it, but kind of self-regulating and pushing ourselves personally.
Yeah, and it's great. It was great to hear Graham earlier talking about, he's the chief executive of the AHDB, but still wanting to drive, still wanting to improve, still wanting to get better.
Yeah.
And I know when I think about our farm business, there are really three things that can sink us. It's weather, it's world markets, and it's me. So how do you make sure that you continue your development within agriculture? How do you prioritise the time? Do you set a budget? And how does that work for you?
Yeah, I think you've got to give yourself a target and say, this year I'm going to spend X, whether it be time or money, on developing my skills. It may be skills that you have already, but you're making them better. It may be skills that you've never done before. Something like this is sort of taking me out of my comfort zone, but it's another skill. It's another thing that I can try and do. And yes, it's uncomfortable, but it's good for your development of yourself, your network, and your business.
Then you said there on the VT how much you enjoy a challenge. So what has been a challenge that you've had within farming, and then how has AgriLeader helped you overcome it?
Every day's a challenge. I think, working with, staff who are older than you sometimes is a challenge, and gaining their respect. Likewise, employing people that are younger and trying to understand how they can fit into the business, and inspiring them to do a job. And sometimes the jobs in agriculture aren't the most glamorous, but they've got to be done, but it's a starting point. Just managing people but trying to make them feel wanted and part of the bigger picture.
So one of the things that we hear a lot of people talk about with this AgriLeader program is that they have unexpected outcomes, things that they weren't even imagining were going to be gaining from this process. Is there something that perhaps, as you went into the AgriLeader program that came out, that perhaps you weren't expecting? Were there changes you made that you thought, gosh, I wasn't even focusing on those?
I was sort of thinking about it earlier. One of the great things about AgriLeader is as a farmer, you're quite sort of isolated sometimes, and you have these ideas and you have these worries, and you go, I wonder if there's anyone else that has that worry, but probably not. But then you get to the AgriLeader and somebody puts their hand up and asks a question, you go, that's the problem I've been having for the last 6 months, and there's 20 other people in the room that are having that sort of light bulb moment of go, yeah, that's the same as me, and then it sort of domino effects from there, and you go, oh yes, it's not just me. It's everyone is in the same boat here, and that's why it's so good, is that you're kind of sharing those ideas and experiences, but actually we're all sort of going through it at the same pace.
That was one of the great things that I took away from it, is that there's an evening surrounded by 2 half days of fantastic outside the industry input, and often it's that evening in between that you have that social time that you really learn from each other, and you get the satisfaction of helping other people as well as they help you and inspire you. So what kind of things did you pick up? Who did you interact with, and how were you inspired by the times outside the official agenda, where you may or may not have had a drink?
No, it's strange, because there was people there that through my network I hadn't seen for years, and you bump into them and you have a catch up. Oh, what are you doing now, or where have you been? And it's great for that, and they kind of come back on your radar. But also meeting new people and the challenges that they're facing, and it's just a great networking event as much as a learning event.
Yeah, well, thank you, George. And I know that something that I've always enjoyed is the networking side of AgriLeader. And that first half day has always been a catalyst for some incredible conversations in the bar afterwards. But talking about incredible conversations, we're now going to head over to George. George, he's not here. We're going to head over to Graham and Isaac in Social Corner.
Excellent. Thanks for that, James. If you're listening to this and you're interested in that, and plan on a page that George mentioned and we've talked about, St Marcus Charles, that is actually in our resources. So head over to the AgriLeader resources, you'll find it there. George talked about and learning from some other industries and other places and other people, and that is exactly what the Talking Leaders is about. We've had somebody from NASA on there, we've had an Olympic skier on there, we've had the VP of Twitter on there. So learning from different people and different industries is exactly what the Talking Leader series is about. Graham, delegation, is that something that comes easy to you?
It's actually just really listening to George there. I think it's so hard, but it's so important. And I remember personally, I had I remember a little story. I was on this leadership course, and I was tasked to. We had to get this box across a river, and there was 6 of us tasked, and I was the leader of this exercise, and we had to put ropes across, and it was a few years ago, and I call it about being stuck in the river, because I had my own moment. I remember the lady who was looking after us, shouted, screaming, "Stop, stop, stop," and she said, "Graham, look around," and I looked around, and there was people on the embankment on their mobile phones, and I was actually stood in the river, and I was basically, I was meant to be delegating. I was responsible for delivering this task, and I was the one ultimately in the river, and I was letting the team down. And I always remember, so whenever I say to myself, "Graham, are you in the river?" So making sure that delegating, that people are clear on what's expected of them, I think is so important. But it's not easy, but it's really important.
Making sure everybody gets across the river, not just you and
Don't end up in the river. Don't end up in the river.
That's a very good story. The other thing that was mentioned there was about networking and your network around you. Your thoughts on that, and how have you built your network?
I think networks are so important, whether that's mentoring. George talked about personal training and putting himself into those kind of environments. But I think having a strong network, and I've talked about food and farming, that we're surrounded by people that want to help each other and want to see people succeed. So I've got I've got a network of people that I can call upon, and I think it's so important. And I think the AgriLeader program, getting people off farm in amongst people that ultimately are going to sort of challenge you, think differently, and are there to see you succeed, I think is so important.
Exactly that, and that's what Ben mentioned at the start, that network. So, really good point. We've had some more questions come in. One for you later, George. What's one habit or routine you've adopted that has made a big difference on your farm. So one for you later. If you're watching, keep on putting those in there, and we'll ask them to the panel at the end. So back to the studio, back to you, Tom.
Well, it feels like we're taking some absolutely fantastic and fascinating insights from each of our speakers, and it's great to have that built on with Isaac and Graham there. I don't know if you noticed Graham saying that sometimes he asks himself, am I stuck in the river? I don't know about you, James, but I've been stuck in the river for the last 2 or 3 days. And I'm not here to talk about that this evening. We're here to have a great time. We're here to learn more about what AgriLeader is. And we're actually here to meet another one of our farmers. So Victoria Walmsley is a dairy farmer from Lancashire. She's been coming to AgriLeader now for 3 years, most recently with her children who are part of the business. Now, unfortunately, Victoria can't be here in person this evening, but we really want to draw on some of the fantastic learnings from the video that they've produced, that AHDB have produced with Victoria, showing her journey through this year. So let's have a look at that now, shall we?
I've been to 3 AgriLeaders now. Before I went to AgriLeader, I really had difficulty understanding myself, and that's the greatest gain for me. AgriLeader inspired me to really connect with staff a lot more and to really find out every member of staff's strengths and weaknesses. But if you actually don't see your staff, how can you ever do this? So from the back of AgriLeader, when they talk about connections with people, because I thought I need to move the clocking in machine into my office, so people do have to check in with me every single day. Getting our staff together and actually discuss things as a team has really changed the way the farm performs.
The way Vic is teaching me has given me the confidence to broach these subjects and know that we can succeed.
AgriLeader conference has helped me because it has given me more confidence, more ideas, and that when you fail you can always succeed afterwards.
AgriLeader talks about the changes that are occurring in agriculture. I thrive of trying to be the best person I can, and I know if I'm the best person I can make the business the best it can be. And that's what AgriLeader is all about to me. Today in farming, I think the changes are so fast in sustainability, and you have to keep up. And if you don't actually go on to these meetings, you don't keep up. And I think it's essential for everyone's business that they do actually go and get the most out of AHDB.
Thank you. One of the big light bulb moments there for Victoria was that bit about an understanding herself and, you know, understandings and how other people work and how their minds work and how you can interact and make those relationships better rather than just seeing it from through your own lens. What's your thoughts on that? Is that something you've seen in, you know, so you've spent a lot of time in dairy and with dairy farmers. Is that something you've seen in the dairy industry and in the wider farming industry?
Yeah, I think, and I've known Victoria for quite a number of years actually. So I think, you know, I suppose understanding yourself and also understanding what you do, how that impacts others as well, I think is so important. So being able to get the best out of people, I think Victoria was so right. It starts with really understanding yourself, and then the next stage of that is then, right, well, how does that then, how do my behaviours, how do what I do impact others, and am I getting the best out of those people as well? I think it's so important.
And one of the things that she talks about there is that connected with other people and how, you know, so what you mentioned there as well. What's some tips or some, thoughts on how do you interact with people, and how do you maybe read that situation, or, you know?
I think so. What I learned quickly, the benefit of the team is about having those different strengths and understanding those different behaviours. I did a programme, it's called Insights, so really understanding how people act in certain circumstances. So, and I think it's really important to then understand that, because as an example, some people actually are quite happy to make a decision like that, whereas other people need time to reflect. So it's making sure that you're adapting your style to get the best out those people and to understand them and being able to connect at the right level to get that success.
Yeah. Victoria brought some of her children along to the last forum, you know, involving that next generation. How important is that to, you know, not wait too long and bring them in right from the start at an early age, in an early stage?
I think it's so important, and I think also giving them a voice and allowing the next generation, or people within any business, ultimately giving them the opportunity to share their ideas and their thoughts and step up. So I think farming is very much generational. So really involving them at the start, and then empowering them and allowing them to take their own leadership in the direction that they want to take the business.
Giving that responsibility early on, so important for succession, not waiting too late, so the children can buy in early. Yeah. Right, so if you are watching this and you think you might be interested, let's look at what might be in store at the next forum in January down in London.
I am Ben Harmon and I am an AgriLeader.
Oh, that's really got me fired up, James. I can't wait for the next AgriLeader.
It's a fantastic event. I know it's one that I look forward to every year.
I can't wait. And you can find out more by following the hashtag AgriLeader or looking at the AHDB socials. And there is a QR code up again on the screen for you to find out a little bit more. But we're going to find out more now, and as if by magic, the entire panel has appeared to my right, to your left, viewers. And we're going to start with a few quick-fire questions. Sorry, James. I thought I'd ask you, Anthony, what was the standout highlight for you the last time you were on the AgriLeader?
Well, I think having a mix of businesses, seeing the energy that Phil Halhead brought, and with a similar mix of businesses, and really inspired me to kick on and go for another level. I mean, he was international. I haven't achieved that yet, so something for the future.
You're here in Cambridgeshire, so it's nearly international.
With the flooding, it could well be.
And Ben, how has sort of AgriLeader helped you sort of change the way that you lead and make decisions on farm?
It introduces a degree of thoughtfulness. It's not that I was not thoughtful before, but I'm not sure that thinking about things in the same way as you always have is necessarily helpful. So it just introduces a different way of thinking about things, and perhaps and this understanding of what drives and what motivates other people, whether that's your staff or your family members that you're working with. Just different ways of thinking.
Fantastic. Thanks, Ben. Now, Isaac, you're at the back there, and you've been monitoring the social channels.
Yep.
What questions have we had, and what kind of interest have we been seeing on the socials this evening?
One of the questions that I've had that come in is, how do you juggle the everyday hustle of farm life while still keeping an eye on the long-term goals? So, Anthony, I'm going to come to you for that one.
Well, thank you. I'm glad my staff aren't here to answer this. I think, for me personally, it was interesting people referring to the imaging, and it's something that I've used for some time now. I brush my teeth in the morning with some images of my goals for the year, and it keeps it front and centre, and it helps keep me on that path. And every day we look at a decision and say, does that decision take me closer to those goals?
Fantastic, that's brilliant. And if, of course, there's still plenty of time to ask questions by the socials, so if you work for Anthony, now is the time to pitch your questions in there. But for the rest of us, put your questions in on the social media channels as well. Ben, you were going to jump in there.
Yeah, I was just going to jump in, but that was one of those things that Marcus Childs was talking about, wasn't it? It's good to have a vision, but it's better to have a picture.
Yeah.
Touched on by all of us at one point or another today.
Yeah. Absolutely. What else have we got there on the socials?
I can't remember who exactly this was for, but it's what's one habit or routine you've adopted that has made a big difference on your farm? George?
I think just getting that structure in place of having, that taking the time to think about things and get away from the day-to-day and just stop and think about what you're doing so that you can correctly kind of put the right people to do the right tasks to free you up to get onto the next spinning plate. So it's the best habit is just to take that time to get a structure in place.
It's quite interesting, but I think all of you have spoken about taking the goals and the visions that you have within yourself and making sure those people around you are fully aware of it. It feels like the AgriLeader experience was almost the pebble, and then the ripples came out, and we saw that your other halves, your staff, your family members were kind of repeating back things that I'd heard as part of the AgriLeader journey, and clearly you managed to communicate across to them. I mean, Ben, how important is that to make sure that the people around you are aware of the communal goals and really are singing that song back to you?
It's crucial, isn't it? Absolutely crucial. There's no point in me working as hard as I can to go this way if I haven't communicated to Daisy or to Dad or to my daughter who's at Harper at the moment, or whoever it is, about which direction I think we should be going. If you don't agree, that's fine, let's have a discussion about that, but we all need to be pulling in the same direction, otherwise we're just going to stay in the same place. So communication's key, isn't it?
I think one thing I've always thought about with AgriLeader, and one thing that's always jumped out at me is the little epiphany moments that you get, those little light bulbs. And Graham, you were talking about light bulbs just over in Social Corner a minute ago. So could you give us an example of when you've had an epiphany moment?
Yeah, I think, and I have one nearly every day, if I'm perfectly honest. I think it's, I think there's a lot of things that, I suppose the river moment was one that, and I'm quite a visual kind of person, so I do remember things like that to be able to challenge myself. But I think the one thing I talked about, the different types of behaviours within a team and understanding and being able to communicate and work with them and get the best from them. I think that was I was going in with we all need to think like this, and actually, and because other people didn't necessarily think like that, it was, well, they don't get it, and I need to help them understand it. And actually they're not. They're just looking upon things with a different lens and actually making sure that I wasn't tripping up and they were trying to help me, and I couldn't see that at the start. But so that was a real big moment for me, and it really helped me to the benefit of any team is about having people of different kind of skill sets, and the diversity in the team of any team is so important, and embracing that diversity.
Yeah, so what you're saying there is sort of, you were talking a bit ago about adapting your style, and because these people are seeing things from a different point of view, so it's something that you might not have picked up on, they might be seeing it in a brighter light. So Anthony, could you just talk about how sort of you've adapted your style in business and how the changes you've made have sort of made your whole life a little bit better?
Yeah, well, it's an interesting question because, of course, everybody has a different style, and that principle of people seeing life through the filter of their own experience, I think it's very true. So what I try and do is listen, and active listening, and try and make sure that what I'm hearing is actually what the person's saying. Because quite often your mind will jump ahead and say, oh, this is what they're going to say, and then prepare an answer. But that's not listening. And I think trying to take it on board and really understand what the person's trying to say is probably the greatest gift to them and to yourself. So that's probably the single greatest lesson I take out.
I think my wife would like me to take some lessons from me. Isaac, you've got something in there?
Yeah, so I had a good question come in here. I'll put it to Ben first, and then maybe George, if you want to come in later. But the question is, how do you balance tradition with innovation on your farm? Ben, you talked about the generations and how you feel that hand on your shoulder. So how do you balance that tradition with innovation on the farm?
So I'm a bit of a brutalist with tradition. I have no need for it. What I have need for is things that work. And if something that's traditional works, then that's fine, and I'll keep it. But I'm not keeping stuff around just because it worked in the past. If we do what we've always done, we'll get what we've always got. So tradition, meh, really. Just improve, get better, learn, and maybe some things will stay the same, but not much.
Yes, but we've always done it this way.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah.
The other thing I've got to say on top of that is I remember my grandfather always used to say there was nothing good about the good old days. And innovation and moving forward was the best way to, be more efficient and a better business. But looking backwards is you can look backwards. He always looked backwards fondly, but he said there was nothing good about the good old days.
So another great question that's come in here, and and we're very upbeat and very positive here. But and part of what AgriLeader is about is that some resilience and how do you handle setbacks? So Anthony, and how has AgriLeader and some other things in life made you more resilient, and how do you handle those setbacks?
I think you've got to acknowledge that there will be setbacks, and saying to yourself, I'm not going to make a mistake, is not realistic. I think Michael Johnson comes up with some great quotes about he missed more points than he scored, and yet he's still considered one of the greatest players of all time. And for me personally, substitution thinking is something that I use quite a lot, whereby I have a happy place that I, actually involves my kids, quite surprisingly. But yes, I'm sitting there, my kids on either side, looking at a beautiful view, and I think the idea is that you think that thought 21 times, and then your brain gives up giving you the bad thought. And that just helps me move on. Because when I was keeping sheep, I had one of those famous sheep loss events, and I can remember going back and thinking, actually, at the end of the season, this will just be a stat. So how can I move on? I need to move on.
Can I just add to that a little bit? Every setback's an opportunity. And you just got to see it as that. And you've got to see what positives are going to come out of this by doing something different and better next time, and what wonderful journey that's going to send you down. So don't be disheartened by the setbacks. They're going to come, as you rightly said. Just take them as an opportunity to get better.
Brilliant. I don't know about you guys, but I feel just inspired being in this room with you three, just sharing a bit of your story. So thank you so much. But Anthony, you mentioned stats, and I'm going to ask you all for some stats. Now, there'll be maybe guesstimates or examples now, because obviously in order to engage with the AgriLeader programme, there is a financial investment, there is a time investment, and there's an investment of our energies. But we want to invest where we can get a strong return. So how would you estimate your return, either by giving a business example or a percentage? I like a figure.
Right.
Go on, Ben.
Given that...
Well done.
Yeah. So about 97.34% of the things I say are made up on the spot when it comes to stats. But nonetheless, so what AgriLeader has brought me more than anything is improvement in my mental health, without doubt. And that's come in lots of different ways, whether it's the good people that you meet or the beers that you have, or the way that your business has improved, or the way that you think more clearly, or whatever it is. But that's the big benefit, and it's hard to put a percentage or a price on that.
Yeah. Anthony?
So I can put a number on it. So about £3,000, and that is because that's what it saved me having not to recruit for a new person.
Brilliant.
So that one talk by Dr. Stephanie saved me £3,000.
Isn't that amazing? So a half an hour to 45-minute talk, £3,000.
Yeah.
Brilliant. George?
I think probably I'm just trying to be in the top 10% of farmers who have pigs in Scotland and
Well, I look forward to that competition. Wouldn't it be disappointing if you were the runner-up?
Yeah.
Isaac, I think you had something to add there.
Yeah, no, just so if people are watching at home, to clarify, your levy, the event is for levy payers only. The levy cover the conference. All you ask is to get yourself there and your own accommodation. So, you've heard here over this evening what some great program it is. You've heard the financial return. So, it's just your time. Get yourself there and the accommodation. So, we're running out of time. So we've had an absolutely amazing discussion here tonight. But I'm just going to ask everybody in one sentence of why they should book on to the AgriLeader Forum in January, next year. George?
Get yourself off your dung heap.
Yeah, I think setting a clear target, giving yourself the space to identify where you're going.
Yeah. Just go and grow.
You're not off the hook, Graham. Why should people go?
I think it's to just learn from others and be in that that environment, I think, is so important. I'd encourage anyone to apply.
Tom?
Brilliant. I think there's some old saying that says if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. Yeah. And I think that really summarises why I want to be part of AgriLeader. I want to be surrounded by people like this and Victoria, and I want to go far.
Right.
Yeah, what about you, James?
I think AgriLeader is one of those things. Is like everyone wants to be exceptional, but no one wants to be the exception. But when you go to AgriLeader, you are in a room of exceptional people. Yeah. And I just think it's an amazing place, just like Ben says, just for you to grow, but personally, and then take things home to your business and grow within your business as well. So I just think it's an amazing place.
Yeah. Right, that just leaves me to say thank you very much to Farmer Tom. Thanks for hosting us here in the grain store. It's been a brilliant evening. If you're watching this, you're interested, go to the AgriLeader webpage or get in touch with myself or Mark Campbell. And book on to the AgriLeader Forum 25, the 28th and 9th of January, down in London, hosted by NatWest. Tom, wrap it up for us.
Well, thank you, Isaac, and thank you, Graham. Thank you to the whole AHDB team. On behalf of Levy Pairs, thank you for AgriLeader, and thank you for all the other things you do. It's been a fantastic evening. I've been fully inspired by everybody. Of course, I've got to thank our amazing panellists. So, thank you so much, George, Anthony and Ben. It's been energising on a cold evening to be around you guys. And, of course, I have to thank my glamorous co-host, James Herrick. Thank you very much for being with us, for posing questions.
Thank you, Tom.
And summarising beautifully. And thank you for you, the viewer, for following along with us this evening. I trust that you're much warmer than we are, but you're energised and inspired, and we look forward to seeing you in January in London. I would say, I think there's also a QR code coming up on the screen, so you can follow that link. But from all of us here in a cold Cambridgeshire, we'll see you in London.
I'm Victoria Walmsley.
I'm Anthony Pearce.
I'm Ben Harmon.
I'm George Tate.
And I am an AgriLeader.
So often we get asked, what is an AgriLeader? I am an AgriLeader.
I'm an AgriLeader.
I'm an AgriLeader.
My name is Hayden Heath and I am an AgriLeader.
My name is Ikechi and I am an AgriLeader.
My name's Andrew Smith and I'm an AgriLeader.
My name is John and I'm an AgriLeader.
My name is Jo Franklin and I'm an AgriLeader.
An AgriLeader is someone like you. Whether you're managing your farm business, leading a team, or guiding your own personal growth, you embody the spirit of AgriLeader. If you're watching this video, you are an AgriLeader.
My name is Skandar and I'm an AgriLeader.
My name is James Smith and I'm an AgriLeader.
My name is Kelly and I'm an AgriLeader.
My name is Richard Orr and I'm an AgriLeader.
My name is Akeem and I'm an AgriLeader.
My name is Mary Quick and I am an AgriLeader.
If you've made it this far, and you are here now, you're already an AgriLeader. So why not join us at next year's AgriLeader Forum? It's an opportunity you won't want to miss.